Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Esig Hydra, and in today's video, I'm bringing you some footage hot from the press of the Warhammer Chaosbane developers. These are the guys bringing us a Games Workshop Warhammer Fantasy ARPG in Q1 of 2019, assuming things don't get delayed. Pretty excited for this game, looking forward to seeing more footage, and today we have a class overview of the Empire Soldier. Just before we get cracking in the actual detail of this video, I want to give you a little teaser that I've heard. I've been down in the labs and I have heard, take this with a pinch of salt, that this game may be up to 20 times bigger, 20 times larger than Diablo Immortal. I know what you're thinking, how's that going to work, Hydra? I know the budgets, I know the size of the companies, I don't really see that, actually going to be possible. Well, in the background right now, we currently have Warhammer Chaosbane. Now, assuming you're watching this on a 21-inch monitor to scale, here is some footage of... I don't even want to say its name. The fuck are they thinking? Anyway, if you're feeling blue about Diablo right now and you're wanting an actually grim, dark-looking ARPG, I'd suggest you listen to the developers and see what they have to say, and we're going to have a good old chat afterwards about what's coming.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris from the Chaosbane team. Today, I want to introduce Konrad Vollen, one of the 4 playable heroes in Warhammer Chaosbane. Before we begin, please remember the gameplay you're going to see is from a version of the game that is still in development. Vollen is a captain of the Empire, trained in arms from a young age and a veteran of many battles against the enemies who threaten the old world. He's a strong fighter who can take heavy damage and deal with entire hordes of enemies. He's a close combat specialist and always carries a shield to fend off attacks. Vollen's combat skills are mainly based on melee attacks, crowd control, and area of effect abilities. With his powerful melee attacks, Vollen can crush any enemy. And with attacks that cause high area damage, he can stand up to enemy hordes. Vollen can also taunt enemies, so they focus him and leave his allies alone. By planting banners and fighting in their area of effect, Vollen and his allies can take advantage of considerable bonuses during fights. This includes bonuses to damage, armor, and immunity to crowd control. Each character also has a unique class skill. Vollen uses a shield to knock back enemies and stun them. In Warhammer Chaosbane, all playable characters are aligned with a god. As a captain of the Empire, Vollen worships the all-powerful Sigma, patron god of the Empire. By making offerings to your patron god, you can unlock passive skills to improve your character's abilities, as well as even more powerful active skills. The gifts bestowed by Sigma are not only the extraordinary weapons Vollen has at his disposal. As he fells the creatures of chaos, he feels his bloodlust gauge. Once full, he can unleash his fury with new supercharged skills, perfect for getting out of a tight spot. With the first level of Bloodlust, he can tear through enemies with a warhammer. On the second level, he summons a huge shield and charges through the creatures of chaos while dealing immense damage. At the highest level is the ability to smash the ground with superhuman strength, dealing heavy area damage and repelling the enemies around him. That's it for the gameplay video dedicated to Konrad Vollen. Follow Chaosbane on social media for more details and gameplay videos, and I'll see you next time.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we have quite a bit to talk about after that video. The first thing I'm going to cover is sort of the obvious here. This game does not necessarily look like Diablo 3 or Path of Exile. I know, how dare they make an ARPG that looks different to those two? Oh my god, what's going on? Well, for those of you that fit the demographic of the target audience, and by target audience I'm making some assumptions here, but the people that watch my YouTube channel, 90% of you are between 25 and 45, believe it or not, and I think the same can probably be said for a lot of Warhammer fans out there that are wanting to play a game. And those that fit the same age bracket as me probably played during the golden era when ARPGs weren't all shit. By that I mean we'll probably have played Diablo 2, Baldur's Gate, and a bunch of other really fun and exciting stuff that was just basically great to play at the time. It wasn't making you chase numbers or small percentage increments. It wasn't making you do basically a Twitch shooter mixed with a top-down hack and slash. It was just great gameplay. And this to me actually looks a little bit like a step back, a bit more of a retro style ARPG. I would even go so far as saying that this game looks like the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 3 that we never got. I know there's rumours around it coming out, but hopefully if I bring up a little bit of footage here from one of these old classics, yeah, I know it's a little bit dated and it looks shit, but it was really good fun. And I actually think that this may be one of the pros and cons of Chaosbane. It looks to me like an ARPG of days gone past, and I hope that players are able to give it a chance, and I hope that it lives up to this, because honestly, the last thing I want to see is another, let's say, anime-inspired ARPG like Diablo 360 no-scope multi-laser that just makes you chase small percentage increments, and yet it was quite a well-crafted and smooth game, but it's actually nice to see something here that goes back to something grim, dark and gritty, and maybe even some of the Diablo 2 fans that have felt disenfranchised might jump back on board with something like this and actually say, you know what, that's actually quite interesting. But I think we have to address here, although we've seen a bunch of different skills from this character, we've certainly seen an AoE sort of hack and slash sword or mace ability. We've certainly seen an AoE buff. We've seen a shield bash and stun, and we've seen an AoE fiery thing. We'll talk about the special in a bit. Okay, so thus far the character's got a bunch of situational abilities. I like the idea of this. He's also got a class resource mechanic, which looks surprisingly similar to a warrior, although it's the colour of a monk from Diablo 3. But basically you've got an extra resource, and it seems to be that you hit stuff to generate the resource, and then you use better moves to spend the resource. And this seems like a pretty cool idea. The resource is also tied to his special ability, which is kind of cool. You press a single button by the seams of it, and then it translates into 3 separate abilities, and you can pick which. And they look kind of cool. The swinging a hammer left and right with a few ragdoll physics looks okay, and I'm going to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt here with regard to animations, because yes, although it looks pretty good, I would say it looks a little maybe dated, a little bit of refinement needed, but does look pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with it. Definitely a slower pace. Now, it's going to be an interesting scenario to see how this game translates into PC, because obviously a lot of us have grown used to having a lot of buttons to use, and as you can see from the controller buttons down on the screen in the bottom left, this is currently being played on controller, and obviously that's very nice because on PC you can plug in a bunch of controllers and play local co-op, so maybe you can make the argument there that actually there's a benefit to having the controller style set up for a PC game. Maybe, maybe not, but certainly there may be some people that feel that the 6 or so buttons is insufficient to create a sufficiently detailed and complicated ARPG. I personally think it may be enough provided the abilities are varied enough. Now, what we do know is that there's some 40 plus abilities for the character, but what we don't really know is if they're all actually different and meaningful and impactful in terms of gameplay. I don't want to get my hopes up here, because at the end of the day, some of these abilities could just be branching paths of the existing 6 abilities. It could just be that you upgrade them in different directions, in which case I'd be a bit disappointed. Or it may be the case that there are just simply 40 interchangeable abilities. The truth is, we don't really know. That's going to be one of the really big questions I'm going to be sort of asking the developers whenever I can, and I'm just going to repeat it. Right now, they're being very, very shy with information, but I will keep nagging. We still don't know a lot about loot of this game either right now, but I think it's safe to say the actual combat is looking like it's beefing up very nicely. And if you've been watching this, if you've been watching this footage closely, you may have even noticed that there's beastmen within this game, which I was not expecting. Obviously, you can see Nurgle. We know the 4 Chaos Gods are within this game, and there's also beastmen. So straight away, these guys are actually including quite a bit of diversity, a lot more than I was expecting to find, and that's nice to see. You can also see a good bit of enemy variety, although we've yet to see elites and combat abilities. Hopefully that's something that's going to come soon. But again, this is pre-alpha footage and our first delve into the characters, but thus far I would say this game is looking somewhat promising. It's going to be very, very interesting couple of months to see how this game develops and if it's any good or not, but honestly right now I think they're giving us a good first impression. This footage I kind of feel represents the game a little bit better than the previous media stuff. Previously, for the reason, well, when I say that I mean because the previous footage was sort of montage, very small clips, not a lot of actual sustained action. Whereas this clip actually seems to show the pace of the gameplay, the actual hack and slash tempo that's going to appear. I would make the assumption that it's not going to get a lot quicker, and you're not going to get a huge amount more attack speed as you go along the game. For me, it just wouldn't really fit right with the aesthetic, but fingers crossed, guys. I will keep you posted on this game. If you've enjoyed the video, or if you've not enjoyed the video, leave me a like, leave me a dislike, click the subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss anything, and I'll see you next time. Take care.